Good morning. This is Linda, and this is Lilybugs Library. So welcome. I hope everybody had a wonderful Christmas. We're kind of still in the midst of celebrating. We have our big family meal today. So before all the chaos starts, I thought I would get this video off. So right now, everybody's still asleep. So I was going to talk about the books that I have read over the last week or so. And it's this will be my last Christmassy um, recommendations. So we'll get started. So the first one I read was called The Scrooge Conspiracy. So this was actually better than what I expected. I don't really know what I was expecting, but I guess I kind of thought it was just going to be maybe a retelling of the Christmas Carol, but it wasn't at all. So this was about an American actor who arrives to direct a Christmas production of A Christmas Carol to children who were evacuated because of World War II. And they're in this grand country manor and they're, kind of getting ready for the day. But Pearl Harbor gets attacked during that time, and the actor is found murdered. And so it's up to a group of people who are protecting the children to figure out who it was that killed him. It was really good. I really liked the characters in it. I thought the plot was good. Something kind of different. So really enjoyed that one. I would probably give it, and I've got notes here. Let me make sure I don't have anything on my notes that I was supposed to tell you and didn't. And of course, the notes aren't in order. Now that'd be crazy. Here we go. Um, no, that's pretty much it. So yeah, with the plot and the character development and things, I would give it, and it had a really good ending too. So I would give it 4 out of 5. So the next one I read was called The Sketchy Christmas Tree. Now this one was interesting, different. It was, it's about uh, this town that really likes its fur babies. And so there's lots of them in town. And it starts out with this cat called Sir Percival, and he's a cat detective. And so he keeps an eye on the neighborhood and anything kind of sketchy going on. And he knows that his owner is, I was trying to think if he calls her his mother or his owner or his butler or what. I can't remember, but we'll just say his owner. Um, she is friends with the woman up the street who he sees sometimes when they all go for a walk. Apparently, she walks him in like a almost like a baby stroller that's zipped up, right? So he sees this dog that belongs to this woman and thinks the dog's a little crazy because the dog's quite young, and he's very, all over the place. But anyway, he starts to see something going on in the yard that's up the street. And so he manages to get out of the house and go investigate. And it's the home of this dog and his owner. And so he finds out that someone has been killed. And so he gets involved in this whole thing and manages to get his humans involved. And it's very cute. And you done in such a way that you like the cat's not talking as far as like out loud, but it's all done with the cat's thoughts. And I really kind of enjoyed it. The first couple of pages I thought, oh, this is crazy. But I was along for the ride and I didn't regret it. It actually turned out to be really good. So that one I'd also give a 4 out of 5. And let's see, what was the next one? The next one was 10 Things I Hate About Christmas. So this one was different. It's about this woman named Gemma who is working at this office building. And she's not crazy about her, I guess he's the boss's nephew. And so her boss is very kind of uptight and things. And the nephew is, she thinks the nephew just got the job because he's the boss's nephew. And when he says something about her not being on a project, and to someone else, and then they're supposed to tell her, but she overhears, and now she really thinks he's a jerk because he took her off this project she wanted. But then it turns out that she exchanges gag gifts with her best friend. Only the problem is her best friend gets this lovely gift from her, and she sent the gag gift to her boss's house. So when Theo, the nephew, overhears, he decides he'll take her to the boss's, he'll take her as his friend to the boss's house, and then they can look for this gift. So of course, a romance starts along the way, and it turns out okay. I was not a big fan of it. I didn't think it was very believable. It was very insta love, which I'm not a big fan of. And the whole thing with them looking for the gift, it's like, like they could have done that in 5 pages instead of a couple of hundred. So I was not a big fan of that one. So I would give it a 3 out of 5. Not my favorite. And then the next one, let's see, on mouse work. Oh no, the mouse is not going to work. We're all over the place this morning. I haven't even had my coffee. Okay, here we go. So the next one is called Her Last Christmas. So this was a thriller. So not my usual read, but it sounded good. So this one was about Emma, and she decides to join her boyfriend Michael for a friendmas in the Alps. So she doesn't ski. She didn't really want to go, and turns out she doesn't like his friends either. And so she sees a whole different side of him up there. He's doing drugs. He's not being very kind to her as she's trying to learn to ski, and his friends are absolutely horrid. So then it turns out one of them gets killed, and of course she's being blamed for it. I mean, otherwise they close ranks, right? So it was good. Uh, It had an interesting ending to it, which I appreciate. Don't always like the endings, but I do appreciate them. So I thought it was good. It was something a little different. Certainly not what I would call Christmassy, but yeah, it wasn't bad. I would give it a 3.5. So that was that one, and then the next one was the Reluctant Christmas novel. So this one was about Adam, who's a successful sci-fi writer, but he's not really doing that well anymore. Everybody's kind of, they've had enough of it. Like he's written a ton of these things, and they are a bit anxious, some of them, for him to move on to something else. So he's talking to his, and he's not doing well financially. His mortgage is in arrears. He's trying to keep his head above water. Everything expensive he bought also requires, upkeep. So he's talking to his editor and says, like, what can I do? And she said, well, you could try writing a Christmas novel. They're very popular. And he's like, okay. So he ends up trying to write a novel in July and about Christmas. So he's trying to, immerse himself, and he's watching Christmas movies and things. And the cutest part of it, I thought, was his neighbor showing up and seeing what he's doing and telling him how much she loves Christmas. She's an older lady. And then she comes back with her Christmas jumper on, and she wants to sit and watch movies with him all day, which I think is really cute. But the book itself, the whole novel, I was not a fan. I just thought it really dragged. I didn't particularly like the main character. There is a love interest. I didn't really believe that either. So, so I would only give that one 2 out of 5. So the next one was actually probably the winner of the day. So that one was called A Holiday by Gaslight. And so this was a novella. It actually got 4.02 on Goodreads, if that means anything to you. So this one was about Sophie Appersat, and wants to she doesn't necessarily want to marry this man, but her parents are pushing her towards trying to have a relationship with this man called Edward Sharp. Now, she is from a wealthy aristocratic kind of family, whereas he has lots of money, but he has no title. So he is a London merchant. So she tries, you know, having a relationship with him. She doesn't realize it, but he's kind of scared to death, and he's, trying to do things by the book, and it's not really working for her because she finds him very stiff. But she decides to, she really needs to marry him to save her family because they're sinking fast when it comes to money, and he's got money. So she ends up, continuing to try with him and invites him to her house for Christmas. And so it's very good. It really draws that class distinction back in those days, um, and it has to do too, like the reason they call it gaslight is because her father had gaslight put into his home. So instead of electricity the way we think of it, this is like run through gas, and people have to continually, I guess, stoke the fires, and it's stinky and like not in the house necessarily, but for the people who are trying to keep it going for them. So it was all very interesting. I learned some things that I had no idea about in that era, and I thought the characters were good. I thought that the Mr. Sharp's mother, who would be Sophie's mother-in-law if she married him, I thought she was very interesting. Not what I would have expected, but she was very stiff. And yeah, the characters were fun. The plot was good. It didn't feel like a novella. It felt like a nice finished story, so I appreciate that. So that one I would give 4 out of 5. So then the other two that I've been reading and just finished, one was called, I believe it was A Scent of Evil. Or a scent of something. I don't know. Let me hang on here. A scent of danger. So that one, love the cover too because it's got this husky on it and it's so sweet. So that's about this man whose sister goes missing, and he's frantic. He's an FBI agent, I believe, and so he knows that she's been kidnapped. Like she's missing. People start shooting at him. He knows something's going on, and he gets involved with this search and rescue worker and her dog, who is the one on the cover, and they decide to help him find his sister. So they're putting themselves in a lot of danger because these people aren't playing around. And so it's the romance between them as well as the suspense of trying to find his sister and rescue her before it's too late. And I thought it was excellent. I would actually give that one 5 out of 5. And then the last one that I've been reading was her Second Chance Christmas, which was Harlequin inspired. So that means Harlequin with a Christian twist, I guess. And it's been good. It's just finished that, and it was yep, just finished it and can't remember the woman's name. Names I've just, you know me, names are out the window. Anyway, the funny, I can remember the guy's name. His name was Matthew, but I can't for the life of me remember her name. Anyway, she comes home from where she has been living since her mother passed away. She ran away when her mother died. She just couldn't handle being in the town, being at the house, being anywhere near any of it. So she's been gone from the town a long time, but she comes home because her brother is part of this returning residence program, and which I think is an amazing program. We'll talk about that in a minute. But she comes home to see him and help him with his bakery that he's starting. And in the meantime, she runs back into her teenage love, high school love, and they start to I mean, they're talking to one another and they're flirting and they're, really interested in one another, but they're both scared. He's scared that she's going to up and run away again. And she's scared because the reason she came home, besides helping her brother, is she has a heart condition, just like what killed her mother. And she hasn't told anybody. And well, that it's not quite true. She told one person, her ex-boyfriend, who, the moment he heard she had a heart condition, decided he didn't want anything else to do with her. Nice guy. So she's afraid to tell anyone because she's afraid that they will all back off, and she doesn't want that rejection. And she doesn't really want a relationship because she doesn't know how long she's got. So anyway, that's the basis for the story. So it was really good. It had a nice romance to it. It had it was just really well done, and really the romance was slow enough. It was quite believable. So really enjoyed that one too. So I would also give that one. I'd give it 4.5, rounded up to 5. So yeah, some decent ones and some stinkers, you know. And the returning residents program, the reason I thought it was so interesting, because I don't know if that actually exists somewhere, but the small town that they were in was basically dying, as so many small towns are, because everyone had left. And all of the production and the manufacturing and all of these things, you know, are not in the small town the way they used to be years ago. And so the town put out this thing saying that they would give people office space, and it was up to them to fix it up and to get their businesses started and stay in the town. And they had so much time to do that, to get the office space up and running and all of that. And then I guess the city council goes around and checks all of the spaces to see that they did it and lets them stay there and run their businesses. And I thought, what a great idea to bring people back to a town. You know, if council members are out there, I mean, this is the way to do it. So I thought it was excellent, and would really, you know, really bring people back. And I know um, here where I live, all the small towns are like that. You know, I hear stories of, oh, we used to have a bottling plant and we used to have this and that, but they don't anymore. You know, and most of the people who live there are retirees who have lived there a long time, but not a lot of young people. So yeah, I think it's a great idea. So anyway, learn that from the book. So that is what I managed to get read or listen to in the past week or so. And that will be it now for my Christmas books. Now I'll move on to my January TBR, which I promise I'm coming with. So hope you have a great day, and hope you found something in that bunch of books that you might be interested in. If not for this year, then for next year. All right. Talk to you soon, friends. Bye bye.